Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, former State Senator Ben Kieckhefer joins us here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
It's a good time to eat. It's a good time to play.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good times, a train wreck.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program former State Senator Ben Kieckhefer of BRK Nevada, LLC. Pleasure to have you back, sir.
Thank you, Sam.
Former gaming commissioner. What do you make of all this money laundering fines? And the numbers are just insane. Well over $100 million fine for Wynn. The CEO goes before the Gaming Commission and is applauded for his, past, but pretty much given a warning about the future. And all these major gaming companies being fined for, for various forms of money laundering, 10, 15 $1 million fines. What do you make of all this?
I think that there has been a couple of really high-profile instances that have made the gaming regulators do somewhat of a deep dive into some of these properties as allegations have come forward. You got to remember our gaming structure is set up so that we do heavy investigations on the front end,
right,
and then do compliance monitoring throughout that process. But most of the heavy work is done through the licensing process, which is why it is so expensive and such a long and arduous process to get a gaming license in Nevada. So the majority of work has always been at the front end of the process. So I think the high profile aspect of some of these cases has led to some additional allegations coming forward and things like that, and you're seeing resolution of those through the process. So look, I think that I would assume that these properties are on notice and have dug into their compliance pretty dramatically
and changed boards of directors. I mean,
there's been a lot of change, and as they go through that process, I'm sure everything will tighten up. And I have faith that these operators will do what they have to do to make sure that they're following all the appropriate rules and regulations.
Do we need more gaming regulation to catch this stuff before the feds catch it?
I don't think so. I think the regulations that we have in place have been successful in this state for a long time, and I think what we're seeing is going to lead to enhanced diligence and attention on this matter. And I think that the time was obviously ripe for that diligence to be put in place, and I think it'll be a good outcome.
Because if I'm correct here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody comes in with more than $10,000 worth of cash, they not only have to explain where they got the money from, but whom they got the money from, correct?
Well, there's a whole know your customer process where gaming companies need to investigate both source of funds and ability if they're issuing credit. So there's a deep dive that's given oftentimes into customers who are wagering large amounts, regardless of whether it's cash. And those know your customer investigations do look at source of funds. So it's not uncommon, and it happens all the time, that these properties will investigate their customers and know that the source of funds with which they're playing are legitimate.
Let's change topics here. And there was a conversation going on before we started taping about these data centers that are popping up all over the state, and especially here in the north. Can you believe the amount of energy that is needed? And, how does this play out for these companies and the energy and the ratepayer? Because, at what point does the ratepayer look at increased costs for this growth that will eventually benefit Nevada, but not initially?
Well, I think you need to recognize that the amount of energy that's being talked about is to a factor of X, the amount of electricity that we consume throughout northern Nevada, at least. On a regular basis. So the construction of these new generating facilities that are needed to feed these data centers are very expensive, billions and billions of dollars. And the risk associated with constructing those isn't something that needs to be or should be put on the average ratepayer. So we need to create a mechanism that allows NV Energy to work with the developers and the energy developers to create a mechanism for the construction and development of these energy generating facilities to feed these data centers that doesn't put the risk on average ratepayers, because that would be inappropriate. And I think there are ways to get that done. There's probably some work that has to happen to make it a reality, but I think that's the right process. And you shouldn't have these massive companies put the risk on average everyday Nevadans.
Is this something that the PUC can handle, or does it have to go to the legislature or the governor's office to make this work?
There's probably some combination. I think the PUC has flexibility to do a lot of this, but we may want to create a statutory structure that to allow for it. There's smarter people than me can figure that out.
Okay, fair enough. You were chief of staff to Governor Lombardo. Give us your appraisal of the legislative session we've just lived through.
I think that there was opportunity for more, but some good things got done.
For example? From
the governor's perspective, look, getting the housing bill passed that the governor proposed, I think is a major win for all Nevadans, not the governor, but for the people of the state, to invest in attainable housing. We know that to address our housing cost problems, we have to address our housing supply problems, and building attainable housing is something that was a primary focus of the governor going into this legislative session. In his bill, you're going to see about the money invested leverage about $1 billion worth of investment in attainable housing in this state. And that's at a level and a scope we've never seen before. So I think the governor's commitment to addressing our housing issues was a success for the people of the state, for the legislature, for the governor. I think the same is true for the education policies that came out of the session. The governor partnered with Senate Majority Leader Canizero, Assemblymember Selena Torres, to advance policies that both create accountability within our K-12 education system, expand school choice through open zoning, invest in charter schools, charter school teachers. So I think that the promises that the governor made when it came to education, he accomplished through partnership with the legislature, which is a great way to do it. And I think I'd finally point to the creation of the Nevada Health Authority as a significant step forward for sort of the administration of healthcare in the state. and how the state government will manage the various health programs that it runs. So I think there were some significant wins. Stuff got left on the table, but I think that happens every legislative session.
You know, when you look at education and the $2 billion plus that was put in last session, how long, and you're a dad, you've got 4 kids that went through the system here in Nevada. How long do you wait to see the results of that investment into the state? Because it's certainly not going to happen within a 2-year period.
Well, it certainly doesn't help overnight. And, you know, I think you need to recognize that the majority of that money was invested back into teachers, right, to try to stabilize our education workforce. So, the school, I mean, that money is allocated to the districts, and the districts decided primarily how to spend it, and they spend it mostly on shoring up teacher salaries, trying to fill vacant positions, and things like that. And the stability of the teaching profession in the state, I think, is critical to the long-term success. And, you know, the governor was very clear that with that investment, he also expects results, and the time horizon on those results come in 2-year chunks for us, really. It's academic year over academic year, but also biennium over biennium to align with our budget. And what you saw with the governor this session was saying, okay, now we're going to be looking at accountability. He said that in 23, he said it in 25, and the legislation that was passed this session puts an entirely new focus on those outcomes, looking at student performance as the primary indicator of success within our K-12 education system.
One of the things that is always something to bear in mind for people is the difference between Washoe County and Clark County in terms of the number of kids, but also the transient nature of the population in Las Vegas. It makes it much harder for those kids to be able to attain the goals. Do we want to split education into 2 in the sense of part of it is the money goes towards, you know, teachers' salaries. Obviously, we want teachers to feel that they're, you know, well paid. But the other part is split off into, you know, seeing that kids can read by a certain level, can do math by a certain level, because it seems that we are leaving a lot of kids behind.
Well, we've done that, you know, Sam. We created weights within our K-12 funding formula. We give a baseline level of funding for all students within public education, and then for students who are gifted and talented, English language learners, or at risk. Then they get an additional multiplier put onto that funding so that there are enhanced resources available to those kids. So I think we have recognized what those challenges are, and the fact that some kids need additional resources in order to be successful. But you know, despite differences between that come with stability and transiency and all these sorts of things, we should recognize that all kids have the opportunity to grow in their academic performance, right? Regardless of what your baseline is, growth needs to be the indicator that we look at to ensure that our education system is performing adequately. I don't expect a child that's 3 grades behind to be reading at grade level in one academic year, but they should make significant progress. And as long as we are adequately tracking the progress that those students are making, we know that we're seeing performance and return on investment of those dollars.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back more with former State Senator Ben Kieckhefer after this timeout.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain. And for over 90 years, the Nevada Trucking Association has been the voice for the men and women in the trucking industry. From Carson City to Washington, D.C., we advocate for policies to protect our trucking companies and keep commerce flowing. Because Nevada's and America's prosperity is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with former State Senator Ben Kieckhefer of BRK, Nevada. I did want to clear up one thing. In a previous show we recorded, the number of governor's vetoes was misstated. What was the number of vetoes that he?
I think the total coming out of the 2025 legislative session was 87 total vetoes that he did.
What do you make of that? I mean, was that just political stupidity?
No, look, I think the governor was clear.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to say the governor was stupid. It's just, can you not get together before the session and discuss what's going to work and what isn't going to work, so that when you go into the 4-month session, that everybody says, hey, look what happened in the last 15 minutes. Right. So we don't have to have the governor doing 87 vetoes.
Yeah, look, we can talk about the last 15 minutes, but I think the governor has always been pretty clear about what some of his non-starters are when it comes to legislation, things that are going to drive up costs on everyday Nevadans, or something that he's not going to sign. And he has things that he believes in. He's also demonstrated his ability to be incredibly practical and cut deals and sign bills that he doesn't necessarily like as a part of a closed down package that comes at the end of the legislative session. And in the end, that closed down package sort of fell apart, right? So there were bills. there were bills that probably could have been signed that didn't get signed. There were bills that could have been passed and signed that didn't even get passed. But the governor started 2025 legislative session in his State of the State address by asking the legislature to work with him. And he didn't want to veto that many bills. I know that. He's said that that's not a sign of government functioning really well. But in the end, he decided that he needed to stand up for the principles that he believed in, and these bills crossed lines that he wasn't able to accept. And he vetoed them, and that's entirely within his right. And I think it demonstrates that the people of the state of Nevada who voted for him are getting what they voted for, right? That he's a common sense and very logical governor who is the line between a legislature that is controlled entirely by one party and policies that are not in the best interest of the state of Nevada. He is the line. And I think that's frankly a good case for him to run on when he launches his re-election campaign.
One of the things that struck me as you were saying that was that he kind of reminds me in a way of former Governor Kenny Gwynn, who looked at it big picture. He had run banks. He had run the university system. He had run the school district in Clark County when they were in trouble, and for no money, basically. I think he donated all the money back. And by the time that he got to be governor, he was, even though he ran as a Republican, he really wasn't governing as a Republican. He was governing as the governor of the state of Nevada. And it seems to me that Joe Lombardo, with all of his experience at Metro, running the largest police force in Nevada, and having to deal with all these different entities, some that may have gone along with his political philosophy and some that may have not, but he still had to run a functioning Metro department, that he brings that knowledge and experience to the state government. And, because of the re-election campaign, obviously it becomes much more political, but he seems to be more of that governor rather than a political governor.
Yeah, look,
am I wrong about that?
No,
I know you're a fan, so.
Well, I am a fan and I'm biased clearly, but he's mission driven, right? When we transitioned into the administration and we were assembling, cabinet members and an office staff, he said to me, listen, remember, we're a service organization, right? That's what government is. That's what state government is. And we retained a lot of cabinet members who had served in the prior administration. We retained members from the former governor's staff who we thought were going to be able to enhance and advance the Lombardo agenda. And it's not a political office, right? It's a government function. He believes in running government effectively and efficiently to serve the people of the state. And sure, there's a whole political operation that operates outside of that, but the governor is committed to trying to make the state do the best it can for the people, and that's not a political motivator.
All right, let's take another break, and we'll be back with former State Senator Ben Kieckhefer after this timeout.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock.
Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
It happens. And when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with former State Senator Ben Kieckhefer, now runs BRK Nevada LLC. We've talked about this many times on the program over the years, but you started out as a reporter, and then you became a PIO, Public Information Officer. Let me ask you about the interaction between the legislature, the governor, and the media. In this session, something that was very different and I was very pleased about was where in the past, literally Democrats have been told by the communications people, do not come on Nevada Newsmakers. And I presume they were telling them not to go on other places as well. And I found that very frustrating, and I didn't see the point, because this is not a place where you come on to be attacked. I mean, if you say something stupid, obviously I'm going to, have a discussion with you about it. But if people come on, I want to hear everybody's point of view, because like you were saying about the governor, the more information you can get, the better off you are. But this time the Latino caucus, certainly out of the Assembly, was very strong, and out of the Senate as well. We saw a lot more Democrats come on the program. We'd never really had a problem getting Republicans on because being in the minority, they want to be able to get as much information out as possible, which is fine. How do you feel about the communication between the governor and the legislature and the media? Are we in a good place? Are we in a place that could be better?
Generally, I think, well, look, I think it can always be better, right? Obviously, I've been on multiple sides of this. I've been a legislator, a chief of staff, a reporter, a PIO, comms director for a governor previously. I think I'm a firm believer in robust communication with the media. Unfortunately, the media is different than it once was. There's not a capital press corps like there used to be.
Sadly.
Very sadly. And I think that is a disservice to the people, to policymakers, to everybody. The lack of sort of accountability through the media is a very real thing right now. But overall, I think the need to effectively communicate your message as a policymaker, as a politician, as an administrator, that need hasn't changed. So it's more about how to most effectively deliver those messages and deliver them to the correct audience that people need to cope with. And sometimes that's coming on Nevada Newsmakers. Sometimes it's sending a tweet. Sometimes it's putting something on Instagram. But the need for that strategic communication is probably greater than ever because the noise is so loud and the number of messages that are out there is so great. So, an effective communication strategy is critical. And if your experience was that more and more people were willing to come on and talk about what they were trying to achieve, I'd say that's a good thing and people are moving in the right direction. But it's probably more critical now than it's ever been.
And that's where we have to leave it. I thank you, sir. Thank you for your service, and always appreciate you coming on.
Anytime, Sam. Appreciate it.
And we'll be right back.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
You can always watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. Thanks for watching and listening.